Who am I? This was the question that Glenda kept asking herself when she first immigrated to the US from Costa Rica. She couldn't speak the language. It was hard for her to commute. She didn't know anyone. She didn't have family except for her husband. She had to reinvent herself. The Glenda that she knew in Spanish, doing what she used to do back home, was no longer the Glenda that she was. And she had to start all over again and to build herself in English. Now, Glenda runs her own business training dogs. She's teaching her fellow Americans how to work with their dogs. She hosts conversation groups and book clubs in our community. And she is the best version of herself. She is confident, she is fluent, she is funny, she's expressive, and she is herself. She no longer asks herself, "Who am I?" And she's also a proud mom, and she's able to provide to her daughter the thing that she believes she deserves. I love Glenda's story because it's a story of transformation, it's a story of courage, it's a story of persistence, despite the challenges, despite the negativity that she's experienced, and despite the tendency of letting fear take over. I cannot wait to share with you this conversation. Let's listen. Hi, Glenda. How are you?
Hi, Hadar. I'm really, really good right now. I'm happy to be here with you.
Not as happy as I am, I'm telling you. I missed you, and I wanted to have this conversation for a long time, and I'm glad that we get to have it here and to talk about your beautiful, beautiful, beautiful journey in English and in life. So, I cannot wait to hear more about your story. First of all, introduce yourself as you would introduce yourself in a conversation group or
Oh,
to
okay.
anyone new meeting you.
I'm Glenda, and I'm from Costa Rica. I've been here in the US for about, I think, 7 years. I think this year it will be 8 years. I came here and I basically restart my life right here. So I didn't speak the language at all. I thought I was speaking, but no, not really. And so I have to start like learning everything from zero and even how to live here. And currently I'm living in Arkansas and here with my husband, my dog, and now my daughter. And yeah, she's 13 months old.
Oh my god, she's already 13 months.
Yes.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah. So the family grew, and so now we are really happy with this new like chapter our lives as a parents. Yeah.
Amazing. So, there is so much to unpack when it comes to your journey, but tell me what it was like as a young immigrant who has just moved to the US, thinking that she knows English, but something happened that made you realize that, wait, I'm not able to communicate the way I want. So tell me a little bit about that experience and
Hmm.
the key struggles that you had at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I want to say first that my dream was always to live abroad, always. So I was always chasing any like opportunity for scholarships and to live abroad. So that was my dream. And you would have thought that because it's something that you wish, you probably gonna be better or gonna be easy just to move another country. So when I met my husband and he's from the US, here from the US, and then he stayed there in Costa Rica for a while, and then he said, "Hey, what about if we go to the US and we start like different life, right?" At that moment, and I think this is pretty good, I was in the end of my career, almost in the last year in my career. And so I was about to, start a new journey in my life because I was gonna earn my title and start my career, running maybe that was my thing, maybe running my own like a office, whatever. So,
And that was
and
back in Costa Rica where
that was
you
back,
were succeeding
yeah,
professionally.
yes.
What was it that you were doing before?
Well, I was like studying, and so before studying and working at the same time. So I was working so hard all day, and at night I was going to college, and
Wow.
so I was in my last year, and I was gonna graduate. I graduated already,
Got it.
and so that meant a lot to me. So then we got married the same year, and then we moved in the same year. That was back in 2017. So in January, I graduated. I, I got married and graduated. In August later, we moved.
Wow. That was
So
an intense year.
that was an intense year. It was a lot to process. And when I came here, it was like, who am I? So I don't have a work. I'm not studying. And yeah, I'm learning English, but I'm terrified being here. So I don't know how to navigate in this new world. It was my first time in another country. And then I found myself that I need to learn how to take the bus, how to speak, how to get the bus ticket. I didn't know how to drive. And so everything was new. The weather, the time, the daylight, all those changes just came together. And it was for me like a huge wave that I wasn't sure if I could like handle
Okay.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
and
did
not
that
talk about
impact your mood or your relationship where you felt so limited and probably dependent on your husband for so many things?
what impact emotionally. It was a lot. So, I'm happy with my husband.
Of
We were
course.
excited and everything, but the fact that to move from like being independent, working and studying, managing everything, arranging everything to like be like a baby. It would be like I needed my husband to speak to me, to tell me, to demonstrate how to do everything, and what specifically to ask to people, what specifically to look for. And while he was studying, because he was at that moment he was the university getting his master's degree. So during the day he was studying and I was at home. Thankfully I had my dog. But everything was just completely new, and I felt like there were moments that I felt like limited, really limited, powerless. And because I was like there at home, I was taking classes in person, but every time I went to the downtown, it was just a lot like surviving mode.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah, so it was a
I
lot.
just I just have to say that I think that immigrant experience, like, I'm sure a lot of people talk about it, but when it comes to the language and, like, learning how to live in a new place, it is a lot. Like, I remember moving to Barcelona 2.5 years ago and discovering every single thing.
Yeah.
How do I register in the municipality? How do I go to the doctor? What about insurance, right? Like, questions that you take for granted in
Yeah.
your, like where you, in your home country, and then all of a sudden, and when there is the language barrier, it's even more
Yeah.
debilitating.
Yeah.
And I absolutely relate to that, especially when one person in the relationship, and it has nothing to do with how good the relationship is, but when one
Yeah.
person is all more well versed and speaks the language, there's also like a power shift where you feel very dependent. And
Yeah.
I think it makes you feel like even less, productive, efficient,
Yes.
even worthy. And I think that I have definitely experienced that being a very independent woman,
Yeah.
and that is, like, what it's like when you immigrate, even and thank you for saying that, because I think
Yeah.
a lot of people would relate to that
Yeah.
helplessness, that you feel
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, it was exciting.
of
People
course.
will think like, "Oh, you're living in another country." Come on, yes, there are like great things. it's very exciting, but when you face the reality, like to navigate, as you said, like to learn how even how to go to a doctor, how to make an appointment, but you don't even know how to speak, and you have to take the phone
Yeah.
and say and
Yeah.
explain why you need an appointment, and all of that is like very simple and very like daily. I think it's something that you would do like without problem in your country,
Yeah.
but it takes a lot of effort. I mean, a lot.
Yeah. And you need to build that infrastructure
Yeah,
to be able to enjoy the fact that you live, and it
yeah,
takes time, right? Like, and that's something that we need to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
So what was it like? How was your so you were there, you decided you took classes, in-person
Yeah.
classes. Um, and how was it for you back then to communicate? Because your surroundings was mostly
Uh-huh.
English speaking, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully, it was a small town. It was a small town, small town, and it was like a student town. So it was very like diverse and really, I think, easy to like commute right there. And I learned a lot. I took a lot of classes. I even had to take two classes with a tutor because I need to reinforce other things like, for example, this is funny, but I didn't know how to use the coins, you know? So in every coin here, it has a name that is very common to use, like the pennies, the dimes, and like, yeah, it's like, what is a penny? So I don't know what is the value of that. And so it, I was using a lot of like cash at that moment, and so I need for also for the bus. But if I wanted to go to a store, I didn't know how to use the checkout. So I took private classes and I asked my tutor, like, please explain me what
Mhm.
the name of the coins, how I can like talk to the person on the checkout, and if they ask me like, is this, is that, just rehearse that. So I
Wow.
I took like multiple classes just for with the how to manage
How
the
to talk
coins.
about money. Yeah.
Money. Yeah, and just to be prepared, like, if she asks me about this, I know what this means, so I can give two pennies or two dimes, and
Yeah.
so all the maths, so in English, and that helped me a lot to like understand people. But what was very tricky for me, it was I think listening and speaking that I couldn't like um be like as good as I wanted. And it was really hard for me because during that time my husband has a lot of student events and activities. So it was a student with their family, their wives, and those events they were crowded and the music I remember and we have to go because you want to meet people, you want to also make a good impression, you want to socialize. Yeah, and so sometimes I felt pressure because I didn't want to like let my husband down and or let him alone and like when everyone was with their families.
Mm.
But I could go, but I couldn't speak. And I was like afraid like about what about if someone asks me something and I don't understand? They speak so fast and the music is too loud. And, it's, and even in my own language, I'm very like maybe quiet in the beginning. So social skills was another thing that I had to like learn and to get better. But they don't teach that in English classes.
No. How would you say back then? Like, if we're looking at back then, what was it, 2019, something like that? Or
That was probably, yeah, between 2017 and 2019. Yeah.
okay, so like the first 2 years, how
Yeah.
would you describe the difference between Spanish Glenda and English Glenda in terms of personality, in terms of how you show up?
Well, I think in personality, I went backwards, probably because I'm very like quiet, maybe serious in the beginning, but in my own country was like Glenda who worked in the office, who was arranging things, who everyone asked Glenda for help because she knew how to solve things where Glenda was at the university studying psychology, so she was gonna become a psychology, all these titles in my head. And then suddenly I was for here in this country and I don't know who I am. And like I'm so quiet. I'm so afraid. Uh, I'm sweating because I don't know how to speak. I'm sweating. Someone just come in and talk to me, and then I would like get frozen because I don't know what to say. Like more than I'm good. Yeah, I'm
And
from Costa Rica, and that was the only answers I could say. Like
yeah.
great and fal.
And I'm trying to imagine, like, what it's like for someone who had this sense of always helping others, people come to
Yeah.
her, all of a sudden being a person who doesn't want to be approached, like, what does it do to your confidence and your self-worth at that time?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely my esteem was my self-esteem was like in the floor.
Yeah.
It was in the floor because I felt like so dependent. Yeah, my husband and even for speaking to explain what was in my country and to understand people and I felt very discouraged just to get out of the house. And because I didn't want to show my face. I didn't want to speak even in my neighborhood. I was just afraid. Everything was completely new. Learn how to cook even, how to cook my food in a new country. Even the houses, everything looks just very different. And so any sound that yep, came out like in the house, it was like, what is that? Because I was not used to. So
Yeah.
everything is different.
What is a moment where you felt like you started building your confidence and started gaining, you know, fluency and opportunities to speak? Tell me
Yeah.
about the moment where things started to shift and how and why that happened.
Yeah, what I think probably this was between the end of 2018 and 19. So then we moved to another like place, and we were at that moment Pennsylvania, and so we moved to another city in Pennsylvania for because my husband has had to do the internship and for the summer. So we moved to Pennsylvania and another place, and then I said, okay, I need to keep going with my English because I need more. I'm not where I want to be. And so I took classes and wrote summer classes in that university. And that again, like helped me a lot to feel like a little confident. So because I wasn't at school, taking the bus, being there, like taking English classes, but I was with other students. And so I was like, okay, back to who Glenda used to be before,
Mm.
but in English. And I was taking academic English classes. They were really hard. And they gave me the tools to like, how to speak in public. I remember that my confidence is starting to grow a little bit when I took these classes because I wasn't going in person and I need it was like an hour commuting to go to there. So it was a little far away. And I met me other people. I'm the teacher as I had more let's say other type of teachers. And we have a lot of homeworks to do right there in the university. So I think that helped me in some way to
Yeah.
gain more confidence. And so one of these classes, it was about speaking and listening. And our final homework, it was to make a presentation, but to make like engaging presentation. And we had like kind of like a jury. They were other people invite it. And so, and I remember now I remember the final assessment. It was a presentation like in a big place. It was kind of like a theater, something like that. And so it was a panel, student panel. And so in front of they inviting everybody. It was open for everybody. So we were preparing for this like I don't know, for months, And part of this like learning, it was to improve our processing,
Mm.
something that I never heard before. And the teacher gave us the task to watch a video in YouTube, and it was one of your videos. It was about rhythm, prosody, and I remember that day I was just really impressed and surprised, like, what is this? This is it was a new language to me, but I could like feel like so related to that, like, oh my God, is that what I'm missing? And we have to watch one of your videos, but I keep scrolling and scrolling and watching more. And I remember also the videos about introverts. And so I was just fascinated about your work. And it just called me like, this is what I need. This is speaking what I'm lacking of. And this is what I want to also to achieve. And so one thing, took me to another thing, and after the classes they were done, we finished everything. And yeah, I got more confidence. And after that, like huge presentation that were a lot of people right there.
How was it?
And
Right.
I was terrifying. I was just so nervous
Yeah.
and but everybody said that we did great and we didn't look like afraid. We looked so confident.
That's
But that was a huge thing for us, for all of us,
yeah.
to speak
Amazing that
about.
you did
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. We did. And so and it was I love the experience. But that moment I thought that academic English for me, it was a lot at that moment. I thought, okay, yes, I've learned a lot, but I feel like I need to work in other things, keep working on my speaking, keep working like on my confidence. And when I found you, you were at that moment with one of your courses. and and I remember that I didn't want to go back to those classes because it was a lot commuting. So it was an hour and I didn't know how to drive, and I didn't want to spend like an hour in the bus. And so I said,
Yeah.
I need something maybe online. And because my husband was working. So again, I was annoying. And so I need to find other ways to do it by myself. With your courses, it was a perfect. It just fits perfectly for me. Like, okay, this is what I want to learn. And I showed my husband one of your videos, and he was like, "Is is is she American? She sounds like an American." So he was impressed by your English, and I said, "She's good and she's great." And so and it was not only your English; it was all everything about you that was very engaging and fascinating, and it spoke what I needed, like the things nobody taught me in those other classes.
Yeah.
And so maybe a little bit in the last classes, but it was I needed more.
Yeah.
And then I just started to follow you. I started with your courses. But even though I gained confidence, I remember in your courses I was no participant.
Yeah. Why? Why do you think that is?
Because again, I didn't want to speak and other people listen to me. And then, and then they were like watch me because I didn't know how to express myself. I didn't know what to say. And so I felt like I was not smart when I was speaking English, and I was so afraid making mistakes. And so make a video. Oh no, everyone is gonna see all my mistakes, and I don't want anybody to see that from me. And so I remember I when little by little, even in the conversation groups, I was very quiet, and I always said this. I was with my camera off, and I was always, yes, so nervous. And when I was turning my camera on, I was just sweating like that and panic because I didn't know what to say or what to say, something that would sound really smart or like or to understand people and or how to have a conversation with someone. Small talk, it's I didn't want it to go blank in front of people.
And I just want to say, because this was a few years ago, 5, 6 years ago, and your reality now is so different. We're going to get to it. But,
Yeah,
knowing that not only that you're hosting groups and you live a full, rich life in English, and you run a business in English, training and teaching in English.
yeah,
Like, I think it almost feels like it's two different people, but it's you
yeah,
has gone from that experience to where you are today, which you're going to share with us in a minute. But a- it was important for me to say that right now, also you being able to talk about it so fluently and confidently now, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are listening to this saying, this is me.
yeah,
I'm the one who's sweating. I'm the one who keeps their camera off. I'm the one who avoids, even though I know how to speak. I've done the work. I'm
yeah,
confident. But you're like, this was your reality.
yeah.
So tell us, how did you go from there to here to today?
Uh-huh. I think I was able to become who I am right now with all the support I found in your community. So because even though I was quiet, yeah, I was in the work there behind, you were always encouraging us, like to speak, to open up, to like take the challenge, like making a video and making mistakes there. And so I I went to like making a video and recording probably the videos several times.
Of course.
and and then little by little I was like, okay, now in this new program and beyond, I think everything is starting to like thrive even more because the challenge about becoming a host and hosting a session and preparing a session and sharing with people, other students, your practice, that little by little were like improving my confidence. And so I started to do that even though I was afraid because I was so nervous. Every time I was really, really nervous. I was with self doubt and I didn't know what to do, but I was there just showing up. Like, right here I am. I'm so afraid, but I'm trying to do this. And so every time it was less fear, so
Mhm.
like, okay, this is easy. This is getting more comfortable with myself, with my voice, with being there with people, encouraging people also like, hey, don't worry. I'm like you, like I'm afraid. So hosting helped me a lot. And I started to like pursue other opportunities out of, here in my work. And and then I decided, okay, I'm gonna start like working with dogs. And so I want to just interact more with people. And so my husband said, how are you gonna interact more with people if you're gonna take care with dogs? And so I said, I don't know, but I wanted to do something like I can like be more independent because I worked before at the stores in the first years, and then I forgot that part, and then I realized like, I can do this work, and they even hired me when I didn't even speak really well English, and sometimes I didn't even understand instructions, and they hire me like what? And so because I didn't like trust myself. It didn't matter what even people hire me. I feel like I just said this is a mistake, right?
So they saw the value in you and the value that you can provide before you were able to see it in yourself.
Yes. And
And you
so,
thought, and also, like, you thought that the fact that your English is not up to par, or you had an idea about how English should be, you thought that the professional knowledge that you had
yeah,
didn't matter. But what
yeah,
happened is proof that it's not true. Like, when you have value to give and when you have knowledge,
yeah.
that you can do it even if your English is not a C2
It's not
level
good. Yeah.
English, you know?
Yes. Yeah, you can do it now because I have proof. I can tell people like you can get a job right there. If you want, they're gonna give you a job. I know. And because you have value in what you are doing. But I didn't want to do those type of jobs because I
So
didn't
walk me through, because I think it's not super clear listening to
yeah.
this. I know what you're doing, but for people listening. So back then, what was the job you were working at? Store, like, the what
Yeah,
was
I
it?
was working like a clothing store. So
Clothing
I
store.
was, yeah, I was like folding clothes, putting everything in stacks, being there, tidying things up in the store. But I was, again, so afraid if a customer would come in and ask me any questions because it was really hard. So I worked in two different stores, the clothing and the other one was with crafts. And the crafts, it was even more challenging because there is like a b- big vocabulary, a wide range of vocabulary about crafts. Like, and sometimes I have to use my phone to communicate with them because I didn't know what they were looking for. And
And people
so,
come with a lot of questions. It's not like clothes, do you have this size, that size? Here's like, how do I use this? Or what do you think we can do with that? Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And all the time, I was like, let me just find my boss, and so he can help you. I was always trying to hide when they opened, when the door, the business opened, because I didn't want people to like come right to me and ask me questions. So I did that for 6 months, half time working both in both stores, and it was a great experience just to prove that I could get a job if
Yeah.
I wanted.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that. I It helped me, but really deep in myself, I was not happy doing that,
Yeah.
and so I didn't feel like happy, and I said, okay, I'm gonna keep working on my English, and then we like I started to learn like how to drive. That was during the pandemic. And then the pandemic started and like everything was shut down. No driving classes. And so I was like just with you practicing, and I was desperate to find myself, desperate to feel like independent, desperate to like, empower in some way. And I knew I didn't want it to go back to a schedule working. And I
Yeah.
said, what about if I do my own business? And so, and
Amazing.
so, and because I like dogs, I said, I'm gonna give it a try. And then because I just thought if I could just find something that make me feel fulfilled and happy, I think it's gonna be enough because I wanted to do other things, but it didn't work because there were other people also who didn't help me, and so they were criticizing my English, and so they discouraged me to do that. So that was good in some way because it took me where I am right now, and 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 I remember I started with this with the dogs, and I found that I was not spending a lot of time also with the dogs. I was spending a lot of time speaking with the customers. And so they didn't speak Spanish. And so in some way that pushed me to be more like outgoing, more
Wow.
confident, to
Yeah.
show my my best, and
Yeah.
like listen to them and asking the right questions, and then they would start speaking and speaking. So we're like, oh, okay, now I feel like I was back again. And that was, we are talking about like probably 4 years later.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And then everything is starting to grow. business, the customers were growing and growing, and then I found myself really busy. Um, and just to like to summarize everything, um, I decided like, okay, this thing about the dogs is fun, but I want to do something else. I really like to be my own boss, manage schedules, everything, talking, texting with people, mm, writing to people. It took me like a while just to like find the right words to communicate with them. And so just for one thing, I started to grow other things. But in the meantime, I was practicing my English in the community and trying to gain the confidence to speak and to speak on my feet. That was other thing. And to be confident there and rehearsing thing and doing teach and learn about dogs. And so just to like have all the tools to like rehearse and use them in my real life. And then I said, I want to do dog training. So I don't know I didn't know anything about it. And so I just started to like eh, everything from the scratch. And I started telling people, sometimes telling people that I was interested in that. And they were like, because we have a good relationship, they trust me. And so I started working with the dogs. I started taking other classes with my own dog and
Wow.
learning and studying everything. And this is how right now I'm doing. And I'm really happy that everything worked out so well, because this is something that I can keep doing now with even with my daughter.
Wow.
And so I think sometimes I feel like, okay, this is it. This is what is happening right now, to be at home with her and and feel like also independent. And now the story is different, because now I can speak there. I can take the phone. I can write messages. I can drive. Um, if someone comes here, I'm not getting afraid to speak with them. Like, oh, what I'm gonna ask? Because before, I remember I wrote down all the questions I need to do just to practice and practice. It was preparing. And now I don't even think about that. It's like, ah, okay, well, I'm gonna call them and I'm gonna talk with them and I'm gonna see what they want. I'm gonna explain what I do. And so over all this time, I just developed like my method and what I like, how I like to do it, and do it little by little. So now it's different having a baby, but it allows me to have a life, be independent, and be with my baby.
So you've really created your dream life, one that you never thought would be possible, where you are your own boss, you create your own schedule, you have
Yeah,
clients that respect you and want to work with you. You make money
yeah,
independently, right?
yeah,
You are communicating and providing value. Going back to the beginning, is like, who was, you know, Glenda in Costa Rica? And you're like, people asked for help. I was, the person people go to. And here you are
yeah,
being that person now, but expanded, right? Not
yeah,
changed, not limited, just expanded.
yeah,
And I think this transformation is, like I told you before we started this call, is like one of the most beautiful, inspiring transformations that I've seen. And I want to ask you, what do you think are the one or two key characteristics or qualities that you have that got you to where you are today?
it was courage, probably. Yeah, courage. It was one of the things that it helped me to like step, and dare to do things. And so I'm even though I was really afraid, literally like nervous, my voice would be shaking, and because I remember, yeah, I remember every time I was in the camera, I was just shaking or talking with people. I was just my voice it was always shaking, but this value that just to show up, to be there and be brave and have courage to do it, is something that I started to like, okay, yeah, to embrace and just, it's like you cover your eyes and then you jump. Something like
And
that.
you
And just
trust.
yeah, and
You know,
trust.
you
It just
trust.
it's just you're gonna figure it out. So that is the key to figure it out. And that was something that it took me time to understand that I didn't need to know everything and I didn't need to be ready because um for everything in my life it was like I'm not ready. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. So how you gonna um like host a conversation group? How you gonna host a book club? I didn't know how to do it. And so I and then I just I felt this like batter in my mind, like to those negative thoughts, thinking like you know how to do, you know what, like you have no idea what you're doing, and they gonna notice, they're gonna see that you have no clue what are you doing, and so I was always fighting that, like I know I don't know, but I wanna see
I'm gonna
this
do
and
it
see,
anyway.
but I
I'm
do anyway. And so
Yeah.
that was my approach with everything, and so you and also my husband, they were there and my side, like always like, you can do it. You can do it. Like, no, I can't. And so you can do it. And so always like helping me to how to figure out. And so then I learned that uh this was a skill, like you could figure out things and so by your own. And 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 I know if I don't do it, I don't have proof. And so when once you have the proof that you were able, I don't know, to speak to that person and to explain things, if you were able to do it once, that is the proof enough. And so that is something that I will try now to remember. Like I have the proof. I have to make this proof just to tell myself I can do it. And so this is now my approach. Even now as a new mom, is the same thing. Like other things I had to learn to do, and you don't now with a baby. It's hard to plan, and so everything I just learn is out in the flow, and even with English. And so if I wouldn't have started the business, for example, uh, I would like have friends like maybe not to communicate with people, maybe to text, and to know other like places I can go now with the dogs. Now I'm doing the competitions, and so in the world is with a lot of opportunities that uh, it, they are there, but you have to just be brave to take it because otherwise it's gonna stay there in the
Yeah.
corner.
1,000,000,000%.
Mm.
And I want to acknowledge the mindset that maybe you are like, this is me, this is what but this is a very healthy mindset of looking at the things that you are able to do, even if it's not perfect, as proof
Yeah,
that you can do it. And a lot of times, people who do things and it's not perfect, they use it as proof that they
yeah,
can't do it. And
yeah,
that takes you into two different directions, right? Like, because
yeah,
if you use that as proof, it was
yeah,
not great. I was sweating. I got stuck. I couldn't understand. Okay, proof that I can't do it. And then it ends up being, staying stuck, staying limited, not
yeah,
having the life that you want versus I can do it. This is
yeah,
proof. And you keep on doing it. And I know, I've known you for years and I know that you've had a lot of situations where you did get, like you shared, like criticism or negative
yeah,
responses from the surroundings, and you didn't let that stop you. So I think
yeah,
this is incredible.
yeah. And
Uh,
remember, I'm perfectionist. So
a recovering one, though.
yeah, in rehab.
Yeah, in rehab, right. Um, I got to I'm going to tell you that I got to meet Glenda twice, once in 2022 and once in 2024 in two meetups, one in New York and one in Barcelona. And I remember
Mhm.
when you told the story, I remembered the message that I got from you after the 2022 New York meetup and how you shared that it was the first time that you traveled on your own, that you had to do
Yes.
everything on your own. And even though the meetup was great and amazing to meet the community, for you, the biggest win was to proving to yourself that you can travel on your
Yeah.
own, that you can be in charge of it, that you don't have to be dependent.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was such a beautiful way to look at that experience
Yeah.
and the courage that it must have given you to do more and bigger things later
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, definitely. Those experiences helped me to like do that. I remember that for the first meetup and had the crazy idea to go and then my husband he didn't hesitate and he said, "Go." And I said, "You're
I love
I,
your husband. He's so supportive.
like I don't know if I can do it." He's like, "You can do it." And so it was like, "Okay, uh, if you say so." So this is just crazy. And so it was my first time traveling alone. And so even though I had more confidence, I knew how to speak, everything, I every time I travel, my husband is in charge. So I don't like do all this like mapping things or like where we have to get how to get this nothing because I just trust him and just follow
Yeah.
because I like it too. I also like it, so
Yeah, of
I
course.
like
But if you have to do it, then you will do it. You won't
you
avoid.
have to do the work. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot of work. And so I remember just to go quickly. And so I remember in the airplane when we like took off, I was just crying because for me it meant a lot. It was like, oh my God, I'm here alone. I was so happy there. I was writing down a letter for you, I remember. And so I was just in tears and I got to the airport. I didn't have problems how to take the taxi, tell the driver how to get my hotel. And once I check in on the hotel and then I asked him if I could like leave my luggage there, I just went out and I remember I was walking there in my head. I think it was in New York. It was in this huge like surrounded by huge buildings. And I felt like so fulfilled,
Ah,
really fulfilled. Like this is my
I can
dream.
do
It was
anything.
like, yeah, it was like those happy ends in a movie. Like you
Mhm.
that is how I felt. New York wasn't there, and it was just a huge accomplishment for me. I was so happy. I could like just be. I remember it was just with a big smile walking there.
Wow.
So happy just the fact that I got there by myself. I did everything. My husband didn't do anything. He didn't book the flight. He didn't book the hotel, anything. And so I was just really happy because it wasn't only traveling by my own, it was what it meant for me in this new country and for me for my English. Like finally, like I'm able to do all these things by myself. So I saw more opportunities for me and it was an amazing experience. And I think the the cherry on the cake, it was meeting you and being there with everyone in the community
Yeah.
and meeting them in person. It was like it's my award.
Glenda, wow. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your story and your the lowest moments, but also the highest moments of your life as an immigrant, but also as someone who is making English her home as well. You know, we immigrate to a new country, but we also immigrate to a new language, right? And we need to make that our home. And I'm so pleased to say that you were able to do that. And now it feels like it is an expansion of you. And I loved seeing every minute of it. What would you say to someone who is where you were 5 years ago, 7 years ago? Someone who is afraid of their own voice, who sweats when they who's afraid of not understanding and therefore they're hiding. What would you say to
Yeah.
someone who's hiding because they're afraid?
Well, I would say first, I think surround yourself with the right people, you know. I think the community makes a lot of difference. And it had a huge impact on me. So I didn't have friends in this country. I had only my husband and my dog. And I met good people, but when I was in the community with you, I met other people like they were like me. So they were like n- trying to find a way to improve their English. They would have the same struggles like communicating another language, also living in another country. So when you are surrounded by the right people who makes you feel like let's say supported and also loved, and they see you with love, with compassion, like, yes, I know what you're doing, I know what you are right now, but there's the same people, like they are walking the same path that you are. They gonna take you and they're gonna encourage you, like, and they're gonna cheer you up with every step. So I think the community has a great, amazing value, a huge impact, and all of us we need people with us. Even if we are shy, we need people. Even if you are introvert, you like to be with people.
Yeah,
So I think community, and I would say also like yeah, again, being brave is
yeah,
something that you have to like embrace it. And you can start with just a small thing, like, I don't know, they are speaking one with a new person, or maybe turning on your camera, or maybe like start that crazy idea about to run a business, but you have to try it because it could work, but if it doesn't work, you never know gonna know. So I think I would say that would be the key. And lastly, I would say just trust the practice, but do it consistently. And so that is something that even with dogs, I've learned that they don't know how to do it, and they have never learned how to do that. But if you keep repeating and repeating and repeating, it's gonna get in their brains and even in your brain. And one day we're gonna just do it. Like, I think that is something that it helped me a lot. So even though you feel like I'm doing nothing, I'm just here like answering questions, or I'm just here like repeating myself, that is gonna pay off.
yeah.
And
Don't move
then
on until you
no,
nail it, until you get it,
no,
because
yeah,
then it's just gonna create more frustration. I
yeah,
love every
yeah,
single piece of advice that you shared here, and
yeah.
I'm behind it 1000%. Glenda, thank you so, so much for sharing your story and your insights and you're so generous, not just here today, but also inside our community. You've done so much for other people. You've inspired other people. You got them to practice. You instilled courage in them simply by being courageous, but also for saying the words that mattered at the time that it mattered. So thank you
Um,
so much. I love you very much and I love your family. And I hope to see you soon again, very soon. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be here, and thank you so much for giving me this space to share my story. And thank you because you were one of those people who like was right there by my side. And so thankfully I found you. And so thank you for like helping me to get out of my shelf.
We are all winning from that. Thank you so much, Glenda.
Thank you.